Welcome to the Trainer Closet, where trainer secrets are revealed and tested. Individuals' result may vary depending on your genome and your microbiome. Here now is Mike, Chelsea, Chelsea, and my name is Orest. Today we're going to talk about a topic that is really dear to Mike. So Mike, why don't you take it away?
Thanks, Orest.
You're welcome.
Today we're going to talk about breathing. So breathing is something we all do, and it's commonly overlooked as something that you can do as an exercise in the gym. People that have been practicing yoga know how powerful breathing can be for your body. It unlocks a lot of different muscle tightnesses you may have all around your diaphragm. It allows a lot of different things to happen in your body when you breathe correctly. So we're going to tell you a couple different ways to kind of biohack, although I don't love that word, biohack, but it's a popular term right now.
There are a lot of words that I don't like. There's floating around. Yeah.
So we're going to teach you how to biohack your breathing, and we're going to tell you a couple tips of why mastering your breathing is so important.
I mean, I would just start with the fact that if you actually breathe properly, you saturate your blood properly, and therefore your heart doesn't have to beat as often. So it's like relaxes your cardiovascular system, makes it more efficient indirectly.
Yep.
And they're both kind of, related together.
All the good stuff that happens in your body happens because of oxygen. And so if you have more oxygen in your blood going to your body, there's more materials for the good stuff to happen.
It's a very important part of metabolism, everything else in the body. Exactly. And that you need it, and you cannot stop breathing. That's for sure too.
Agreed. And I like what you said about it makes it easier on your heart, because every time your heart pumps, it ejects blood out to your body. That's called your stroke volume.
Correct.
And your stroke volume is something that increases when you have better cardiovascular health. And also, when you have better cardiovascular health, you have more hemoglobin in that blood that leaves your heart. And hemoglobin is what carries the oxygen around your body. So not only are you increasing the amount of blood that leaves your heart, you're increasing the amount of oxygen in that blood. So then everything that uses oxygen in your body, including recovery, including performance, all happens better.
Right. I mean, the big part, what you also kind of said, like hemoglobin is actually the transporter in the blood. It's basically the transport ship in the blood that transports oxygen. So if you have more hemoglobin, develop more hemoglobin. I don't know if cardiovascular training does that, by the way, but if it is so, then yes, you transport more easily, efficient. But the biggest part is from cardiovascular training is definitely the stroke volume. When every time your heart pumps out more volume of blood, and therefore it doesn't have to pump as often. And then on top of it, if your oxygen, if you oxygenate that blood by proper breathing technique, and you will show us one of those?
Yes. So I think all the stuff we said about breathing is great. And another way that breathing can help you is it can help you control your core engagement. So when I first start working with a new client, the first thing I do is lay them on the ground so that gravity is taken out of the equation. So you don't have to use your structural muscles to hold you up against gravity. You're just using your diaphragm to expand and contract your rib cage. And I teach people to breathe in as much as you possibly can for 4 seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4 in. And then once you're fully breathed in, you hold that air in for 4 seconds. So you learn what the feeling of maintaining a breath feels like. Then you breathe all of that oxygen out. Should take you about 4 seconds. And then once you're completely breathed out, you keep breathing out. So you make sure that you get all of that oxygen out. And then you hold that complete contraction in your diaphragm for 4 seconds. And then you breathe back in. You do that 4 times in a row. And at the end of it, you can really feel your ab muscles and your core being engaged much more. And the idea of that is the more repetitions you do, the more often you do it, as you master that mind-body connection to your diaphragm so that you have better control of these core muscles. Then when you're doing more dynamic lifts and more power lifts, anything else in the gym, you can turn that mechanism on and use your diaphragm muscles to engage your core and protect your spine.
I like that. I like the fact that actually the word control comes in, and that's exactly what that is. It's kind of the control that you learn and control, you can actually control the breathing a little bit. You have some power over it. I mean, as we both know, it's kind of a subconscious thing that has to happen all the time, even when you sleep, when you're not awake. So it's a subconscious mechanism in per se, but you can definitely focus on certain parts of it, and therefore, like similar to what you said, like train the muscles who are involved in breathing. I normally tend to teach a slightly different approach in the way that I try to get people to focus more on the breath out. So I would say like try to breathe out as long as you possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
But again, these are just like, apples for something, it's like kind of, as long as you start being able to control and being aware of it, you are in charge of it. And that's exactly what helps a lot of people. So like, I give you an example for that. If you're like panicking, your body's normal reaction would be go to panting, fast breathing.
Mm-hmm.
If you know how to control that, you might actually, your body and everything, you might actually be able to not panic as much in a, panic situation than you normally would.
You breathe your heart rate back down.
Yes.
Well, once you feel that your breathing is getting out of control, then you grab control of it. And instead of that getting so out of control that it kicks off your anxiety and your panic and your fight or flight and your heart beating, you can kind of stop that from happening by controlling the breathing. And unless you practice your breathing, you're not going to be able to stop it.
Correct. And for me, the focus on breath out is, if I may use the cup.
You have permission.
Is there something in there, by the way?
I finished it.
Okay, good. So like if you have a cup that is kind of full with like not really warm tea and you want really hot tea, you have to push it out first. So that's the same thing for breathing. If you want a really fresh oxygen, make sure that you can oxygenate, you have to push all the volume out first before can actually be able to get fresh air in.
I'm happy you brought that up. Because a lot of times people don't know how to get that maximal contraction in the diaphragm, the one that you're talking about that ejects all of the air. And the best way to do it is to put your hands on your rib cage and then do the feeling of blowing a birthday candle out. So it's really quick exhale, and that feeling and getting the biofeedback of feeling your abs flexing when you do that, then you can start to learn how to control that ab contraction without the sharp exhale. But while it's still a subconscious contraction, do it with the exhale. And
I mean, that is a conscious effort.
It is conscious.
That is conscious. You're using all the other, but like it also occurs subconsciously. There's always like a certain thing where your body kind of measures your oxygen level in the blood, and if there's a certain thing, it makes it automatic to breathe in. There's like something that it will eventually. I mean, you will pass. It's not gonna be like you can hold your breath until you pass out, although sometimes that I guess does happen, but it's not supposed to happen. That's
people can flex out.
So but the point that you again made is like, again, you are controlling stuff. And that's in the reverse. You can control heart rate, all that beautiful stuff.
And I don't want to get too zen, because we can get super zen on breathing, because some yogis get so into the breathing that you can create this meditative state.
Right.
And that stuff's super interesting too. But in terms of using breathing on a beginner level, just focusing on your breath. When you're passive breathing, you really only use 30% of your lung capacity. I don't know if 30% is the right number, but you use not a majority of your lung capacity when you're just normally breathing.
Correct.
And so if you never exercise and you sit at work all day and you never really get into that other expansion of your lungs, then you're losing all that extra lung capacity.
And that the part that is also someone is that oxygen, or that room that is not exchanged, so to speak, is very easily makes the breathing ground for like viruses. Like it's the same thing if like if I have something stuck somewhere and I really blow it out, that's the same if I breathe really out.
If you're not using that part of your lungs, obviously that lung is going to get a little bit more calcified or mummified or whatever. I don't know if those are the right words.
It's actually just as simple as if you have I breathe, we breathe bacteria in all the time. And then if I allow it to come to rest in my lungs because I don't breathe properly out. And it stays there and can actually manifest and become lung.
And on that mindfulness topic, just try that breathing and see how much it quiets down your mind. You won't be thinking about work, you won't be thinking about stress, you won't be thinking about anything going on in your life. You'll just be thinking about expanding your chest and contracting your chest. And once you start to get into that breathing experience, it's super relaxing and it's really enjoyable.
And the thing about that is like that's how a lot of meditation starts. It's
absolutely.
Like in and out.
That's what I do to fall asleep every night. If I have too much in my mind and I can't fall asleep, I start taking deep breaths, and it never fails. I start doing 20 deep breaths, and by By the time I get from 20 to 1, it never fails. I'm asleep by 1. But we're running out of time here. Let's wrap this up.
You wrap it up.
The cat's out of the bag and the secrets are out of the closet. That was our breathing episode. We're coming to you next week with creatine.
Let us have some comments, subscribe.
Let us
We
know
like
what you
all
want us
the
to talk
love.
about. And let's answer some questions on YouTube or Facebook. See you next week.